Hey boys and girls, Ken Smith, Sam Rayburn Lake Report. Today is the 24th of February.
Hey guys, before we get too far into this video, I want to mention a couple things. By the way, if you hear heavy breathing, I have all three dogs below me here as I film. First off, congrats. The opening picture on this is my buddy Brian Branham. You saw in a video a couple of weeks ago, Brian took a guy from Arkansas out as a guide on Rayburn, and the guy caught his personal best, an 11-pounder. Turn around now just a couple of weeks later, and Brian catches his personal best, an 11.60 on Rayburn. And what's so cool about this is, as soon as he waited on the certified scale, he immediately started texting me pictures. And it's so great that a guy that fishes as much as he does was as excited as he was. He was like a 12-year-old had caught this big fish. So congratulations, Brian. Big rattle trap fish for him, by the way, 3/4 inch rattle trap. And I even called him and I said, okay, just between us girls, really, what'd you catch it on? He goes, really, I really caught it on a 3/4 ounce trap. Couple of other comments that have come up. I continue getting asked about water drains. I've realized what I have not said that will make it click with you. It's a ditch. Okay, so think about that. A creek normally has water running through it. A ditch has water running through it when it rains. So all we're fishing are things in the lake where water runs into creeks. They're just ditches is all they are. So hopefully that helps you guys understand better the vernacular when I say drain, or when you hear guys in East Texas say drain. We're basically fishing ditches off of creeks or off of rivers. Also, I gotta give a shout out again. If you guys remember, I filmed the Saturday after the 2-day cut at the FLW tour at Rayburn. And if you remember the story, I came around a corner, it was really foggy. There was a wrap boat there. I looked at it, I saw an old black lab in the boat, and I said, that's Tommy Dickerson. And I stopped and talked to Tommy. And I said, what are you doing out here? You know, you've been on the water for 5 or 6 days, pretty much in a row. And he said, I'm mad I didn't do better. I should have done better. And if you remember my comments, I said, that's the kind of burn that gets you good on the FLW tour. And I made a prediction that Tommy would do well going forward. 4th place at Toho. So I think you're going to continue to see that. Tommy Dickerson obviously is a good fisherman, but he's also got a burn for it, and that matters. And speaking of burn for it, little prediction. So Seminole's coming up, the next tour event, not this Saturday, but the following, starts next Thursday, I guess. Watch out for my buddy Newberry. So he is, there's a learning curve going from 1-day tournaments to 2-day tournaments, and although he's fished multiple day tournaments in the past, you still have to start learning to conserve your fish. You have to learn, and I'm not going to say what he said, but he said that he learned something at Toho about what he needs to find in practice. Those guys, Dickie's going to perform well. He had too much pressure on him, even though we all put pressure on him. The national guys picked him to win Rayburn on his first FLW tour event. He got 2 under his belt now, so I predict you're going to see Dickerson and Newberry both start really doing well. Oh, I also meant to give a shout out to Knox and Theo. Knox and Theo up in Norman, Oklahoma are watching my videos. Thanks guys for watching my videos. I'm going to try to make sure Poppy gets you down here and we get you out in the boat and go fishing. So I think, oh, okay, so let's go to this week's video. And I have to apologize. So I am a learning, fledgling YouTube videographer. I've been doing this for right at a year. And I learned a big lesson this week. And the big lesson is, if you leave your camera up running down the lake in the morning, you really need to check the lens for bugs. So I apologize, especially when we got a glare on the camera. You're going to be getting a lot of video here through bug guts. There's no other way to say that. So I'll do better in the future, but I still want to get a video up with some fish catches and a lake report for this week. So let's go to the bug gut video. Here we go.
So just overall the lake is still pretty off color most of the way down the lake. There's actually a really interesting looking mud line that's about at Norris right now. There's a big point just past Norris, and from there north it's still got a lot of color. And then up the ash arm there's a lot of color up there too. The south end is still relatively clear, but actually not as clear as it would typically be. There's color all over. As we sit here, right here, the water's 54.5. We're right here at Humphreys Pavilion. You can hear calling the weights up there. The warmest water we saw today was only 56.5. Now, we've seen much warmer water in the last few weeks, but we continue to have these really cool nights. So we fished the Outlaw Outdoors rattle trap tournament, Bill Lewis rattle trap tournament this weekend. And we did not catch them. I mean, we caught fish, but you know, it was a much slower day than what we've been experiencing even on that trap bite. They're sucking the water out of the lake really hard. They've pulled 2 feet of water out of the lake in the last 2 weeks. You'll see it in some of the video. You can see the line and the bushes where they've pulled that water down. And it just, in my mind, that should pile those fish on those points and in those drains, but it's not. What's crazy is the fish are on the bank. The college guys this week, Friday, they had the college tournament here. They caught them and they're catching them up on the bank. Now they're still catching a few fish out deep, but it's really hard to fish that with a rattle trap. So it was a frustrating day because we knew that if we could have gotten up in the bushes with the Senko, we would have caught a bunch of fish, and we did catch a fair number of fish. Let's roll through those fish. So we started the day. Steve started the day. He caught a fish on like the second cast right here. Way out here. You hooked up pretty good? Double hit. And then we just sort of rotated through a lot of the stuff we fished last weekend and did not get bit. But he was putting a pretty good strumming on me. I think the next several fish, let's see how many fish he catches on me right here in a row.
There he is.
There's a big ass hole between them bushes and I can't hit it.
Ken, I might need a net on this one.
Huh?
I might need a net on this one.
What's that on?
Fish. Can't really tell. He's pulling pretty good.
Snagged him.
He knocked the crap out of it too.
Out in the middle?
Yeah, right here at the boat.
Did you count that one down or just start reeling him?
No. There you go. Right in that creek. I didn't hardly turn the reel down.
Grabbed it, didn't
I don't think I can get a 4-pounder in it.
My favorite color is chrome.
There he is, Ken. That's a little better one there.
What you got?
Oh, well, I think it's a 12-pounder, but it's closer to probably 3.
Use your dip net on him. So he caught all those fish in a row, and then he finally admitted to me that he was throwing a knocker. So there's two different types of traps. We're throwing 3/4 ounce traps. We could not get a smell on any kind of orange. So he picked up just a shad colored knocker. So a regular trap's got multiple rattles, and a knocker just has one big tack, 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 tack rattle. It's a different frequency. And he was getting a lot more bites than me throwing that knocker bait. So I picked up a knocker bait, and I finally kind of closed the gap on him a little bit. We hit one little waterfish right here that we culled a couple of times out of, and we caught 4, 5, 6 fish right here, just sort of bang, bang, bang. But again, you know, well, you'll see, I think, in one of these videos, I can tell it's 1 3/4 pounds, and I basically said to him, you know, if we're not culling a 1/2 pound at a time at this point, there's no sense in messing with it. And I tossed the fish back. So that's what happens here. There's a better fish. No, he ain't. No, he ain't.
Well, if he's 2 pounds, 2.5. I want to look at one of these back here, but I don't think he'll help. Wait till you hook into your solid 2.5 pounder, Ken.
How busy?
Wait till you hook into your 2.5 pounder. It's on then.
What's that like?
Oh, you can't describe it.
Well, you told me to jump up and down there with a 13 incher, or 14.5 incher, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's like you hook a freight train.
Butterball, he said.
Yeah, look at him. You just throw him right in this little creek and he's a fish.
What's a big one feel like?
I don't know.
Same as the rest of them.
I don't even know if he'd keep.
Yeah, he's cute. So anyway, I would like to say, geez, we had a good time, but truthfully, we didn't. It was a really tough day. I just realized that Moon Pie's sitting on the ramp in his truck. I'm sitting here waiting for my truck because he pulled me down here. It's just a tough day on Rayburn to fish the way we had to fish. I would imagine if you could have got up in the bushes with a Cinco or flipping or throwing a spinnerbait, you could have caught a whole bunch of fish. But even the little Echo 1.75, as brushy as it is right now, is really almost impossible to fish with. So let me stick this on the trailer and I'll finish up the report right after I get it put on the trailer here to get out of this noise. So anyway, that was sort of our day. It was a struggle for us to get, I mean, we obviously caught a little bitty limit, and we caught probably 2 or 3 limits total, but no good fish. I talked to Dickie, fished the north end. He said he only had 3 bites all day, or 3 keepers that he put in the boat. I don't know if he had more bites than that or not. It's tough. Ricky Guy and his partner had 12, 13 pounds. We saw them. We stayed on the south end of the lake. We tried to stay in that clearer water, and it just didn't happen for us. By the way, I got to give a shout out to, I got an email this week from a guy that I had.
Go in there and go and get me a couple of hats.
Okay. I got an email this week from a guy that I had not seen in years, but we actually talked about just the other day. Chet and I were running across Tennessee Bay at Toledo Bend, and I said, I remember watching John Torian sit right out there and catch fish on a worm and flipping, and so we started talking, as we have several times, about guys we used to see all the time. And unbelievably, out of the blue this week, John Torian emailed me. Those of you who don't know who John is or was to fishing, he was a Toledo Bend hammer. And when I told Dickie that John had sent me an email, he said, oh my gosh, he said, that's the guy who taught me how to jig fish. So that tells you sort of the who that guy is in the grand scheme of fishing. So I'm thrilled that he's watching some of my videos, and he gave me a very nice compliment, said he enjoyed them, and I appreciate that email reaching out. Anybody that wants to reach out to me, you know, you can reach me at kensmithfishing@outlook.com. Love hearing from you guys. Love your feedback down below. I will be back down next weekend for the VFL, and I will have big boy string on, and I'll be fishing shallow unless they just completely pull all the water out of it this week. I'm going to go to the bushes and take my chances. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll see y'all next weekend. Thanks, guys. Okay, I'm going to mess y'all up a little bit here. So I had talked before about the hook I use. A lot of talk about that Bite Me shaky ball head hook from Bite Me Tackle for my A-rigs, and I liked it. If you go back to that video, I remember I like it because it's a light wire, and it hooks everything, and it gets hung up. When it gets hung up, I can pull it free. And I posted that video, and the guys from Bite Me reached out and said, hey, we're glad you like that hook. That's not our best hook. So I said, what do you mean that's not your best hook? And they said, well, we make a hook called the Hunter Jig, and it actually has a much bigger keeper on it, so it makes your bait stay on there better. They make it also with the weed guard. If you want to order it without the weed guard, you can order it without the weed guard, and they make them without the weed guard. So I said, thanks guys, I just told all my subscribers and the people who watch my videos that was the best jig, and they said, well, here's what we're going to do for you. For the next 90 days, anybody that wants to order them, and you can order them in the 50 pack, they're going to give us a 10% discount, and all you got to do is enter the discount code. I'm going to put it on the screen right here. So if you want to buy that Hunter Jig, you can do that and get a 10% discount just by entering this on their website only in the coupon code. I think Moon Pie's phone's ringing. So anyway, I really like this hook. It's the same hook, it's just got a much better keeper on it to hold those baits on there better on your A-rigs. A-rig bites slowed down a little bit right now, but it'll pick back up, and it'll really pick up when the shad spawn hits. So if I were you, if you want to get some of these, I'd get them on order now so that you have them when the A-rig bite picks back up. Thanks, guys.